Hey everybody, my name is Clif and I am back for a brand new video. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's get into this. So for today's video, I'm actually not going to be doing the second part to my last video, right? I'm still going to do that video, but I'm still having to gather a few things ready in order to get it situated. So please hold off just a little while until I make sure I get everything situated. I do hope and promise that it's not going to be a 2-month long wait as the last video I just made. I do apologize for that, I really do. But no, for this video, what I'm going to be doing is going over a general idea or sort of a general concept to rely or basically predict how Daisy's involvement could actually unfold within the next Super Mario Bros. 2 movie, right? How this could actually unfold, or how it could actually play out, or what could actually occur, what we can actually, think about to give us sort of a general idea and aspect of it here. And not only that, not only will we be focusing on that direction, but also be going over the idea of how Daisy's relationship will actually evolve with Luigi and Princess Peach, right? Maybe a little bit of Mario and Toad as well, but truth be told, really it's just focusing on Daisy and Luigi the most, and Daisy and Peach as well, right? Maybe a few extra things in there to throw in a little bit of extra spice, but overall, the two I basically mentioned are the general aspect to really give us the proper development to understand things, okay? Okay. So now that we got that situated like that, let's actually get into the context of the video itself, right? So yes, we do know for a fact that Nintendo and Universal, they definitely do want to make another Super Mario Bros. 2 world movie, right? Whatever that may be, right? Now, there have been theories and speculations that we are going to get that the next Super Mario Brothers movie itself is going to maybe incorporate Super Mario World elements, right? And maybe we're going to be going to Yoshi's Dinosaur Island. Like, maybe that's where we're going to go, right? Which is obvious in itself because at the end of the first movie, if you haven't seen it, a bit of spoiler warning here, I do apologize, right? But at the end of the movie, in the post-credit scene, there was a scene where we actually see a Yoshi egg, right? That was beginning to hatch, okay? And Yoshi himself first made his first appearance in Super Mario World, okay? So that could be an indication of itself that the next movie itself is going to be centered around Super Mario World, okay? And another notion of this is that there was a proposed leak that for the next Super Mario Bros. Movie was going to be called Super Mario World, all right? Now, this was quickly taken down, but just because this is stating something now, it doesn't actually mean that it will be the actual movie title when the movie comes out, right? So we won't need to wait to know for sure if that is going to be the title of the movie. If it is, I have no problems with it whatsoever. I'd be perfectly fine with it. I think it can work perfectly fine, but we'll have to wait and see, okay? All right. And just to sort of throw something in here, even though this really has nothing to do with Daisy herself, like that, but there is one aspect I do think could actually work for that, for Yoshi in this context here, right? For Yoshi and how he can actually be involved in the next movie, right? So think of it like this, right? In the first movie, when we actually got to meet Mario and Luigi's family, right? We got to meet the mom, their father, their two uncles, the aunt, and even their grandpa, and even a little niece, right? We got to meet the little niece, okay? Imagine if the next movie, the idea here is that Mario and Luigi's little niece, right? Whatever her name is, we'll call her Marilyn, okay? So, I mean, if by chance I bring her up again, or if I have to basically bring her up, let's just call her Marilyn, okay? I mean, technically speaking, in the Super Mario Brothers animated Super show and like that came on back in the, I think, like, early 90s and like that. I can't remember when it first came out and like that. It's been a while since I've seen some of the episodes. But to point out here, there was an episode where Mario and Luigi, I believe the episode was called Wild Things, where they were visited by their niece Marilyn, okay? So by context and everything, let's just call her Marilyn because in the Super Show and like that, they did have a niece called Marilyn, so we can just call her Marilyn just to be more generic, all right? Just to give us a bit of an idea here, and just saying Mario and Luigi's niece constantly, okay? So we'll just stick to Marilyn just to make it a little more simplified, okay? All right. So one idea I think could actually unfold here is that imagine this actually occurring, okay? For the next movie, Marilyn herself actually finds the Yoshi egg and is the one to actually take care, basically take care of Yoshi, right? You treat him as a pet, right? Find him, raise him and stuff as her own, and then imagine if something occurs where Yoshi wanders off, and then maybe Marilyn herself wanders off as well, right? And maybe she somehow winds up in Sarasaland, right? And maybe that's the whole ordeal that has to happen here, where Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad have to actually travel, to Sarasaland in order to get Marilyn and bring her back home, right? Maybe that's something that could actually occur here, okay? And, this could actually make sense for a number of good reasons to give us a proper indication on why they would need to go there in the first place, okay? Because think of it this way, right? So in the original Super Mario Land, we know how the events play out to the sense where Mario went on a journey to Sarasaland to save Princess Daisy, okay? But in actual context, I don't think it was ever really revealed how Mario knew Daisy firsthand, or how the sense of why Mario would actually go there, right? Like, a lot of theories actually suggest that Princess Peach knew Daisy, and that she basically requested Mario to go save her friend who was in danger. I mean, that is probably the most easiest aspect to actually get out of that, but there's a major problem with that when it comes to the movie itself, okay? And you see, the problem with that is that in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, we sort of get an idea of Peach's backstory, right? We see that Peach herself, when she was basically a little child, right? We basically get to see baby Peach in the Super Mario Brothers movies like that. We saw how she basically wandered into this world, and that she basically spent her entire life there growing up, being raised by the mushroom citizens, right? Literally becoming the princess in the Mushroom Kingdom, okay? And we know for a fact that Peach herself, when she was having her conversations with Mario, especially when she first met Mario, she was surprised to actually meet another human, right? Which could also indicate the fact that, Princess Peach herself, because she's lived here for so long, she doesn't really know so much about the outside world, right? She doesn't know so much about other humans, so that could literally lead into something. But I don't want to get off tangents like that because I want to focus on Luigi and Daisy first before I get into Peach and Daisy. But to summarize here, it could actually give us a bit of a general idea and a bit of a concept here, right? Maybe there could be something to play out here and make things a little more interesting, right? So if by chance Mario and Luigi need to actually go to Sarasaland, to this areas like that, where their niece has actually wandered up, it might give us a general idea to basically give us something to explain why Mario and the gang need to actually go there, right? And the fact that we're having Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad actually travel there together could also be a good way to indicate, a good reference to Super Mario Brothers 2, right? Which was the first game to actually feature Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Daisy, all as playable characters together, right? Well, Mario and Luigi were playable in past games before this, but it was literally the first game to actually include Toad and Princess Peach as playable characters, right? And the fact that this actually occurs could be a good reference to that, okay? So yes. To summarize with Daisy and Luigi, right? When it comes to their relationship is basically the equivalent to Mario and Peach, but with Daisy and Luigi personalities and aesthetics that fit them more better than what it would be for Mario and Peach, right? So literally, their relationship is just like how we should view Mario and Peach's relationship together, right? But with Daisy and Luigi's characteristics and personalities that best represents them and their relationship and how they feel with each other, right? Now, one thing to basically go over here is this, right? One thing I want to bring up here is that with the live-action Super Mario Brothers movie, which you should be able to see over there, as long as by chance the thing isn't cut off too much. But to summarize here, some of the few aspects that I think were good about the live-action movie, even though I know that it is necessarily not a very good movie, and I know a lot of people don't generally, most people who probably might even watch this video probably never even heard the movie or probably don't even know it exists, right? But I will say this, right? Despite the movie not having a good fleshed-out story and seem kind of like, well, I can't really describe it, but some of the best aspects I think in the movie was the relationship that Luigi had with certain characters, right? Such as his relationship with Mario and his relationship with Daisy overall, right? To me, I think those were the best aspects of that movie itself, right? And there were a few minor moments, a few funny lines that I thought were okay and stuff like that. But when it came to the core relationship that Luigi had with Mario in the movie itself, it really did feel like, just like with the animated ones like that, Luigi himself, like, you really get to feel that they really did feel like they were brothers. Like, they really did look out for each other, right? The same could even be said for the live-action movie as well, where the main difference in that one is that in that movie, Mario was more of like the parent rather than the brother, right? Because Mario himself basically had to raise his younger brother after their parents had basically passed away, right? So, and because of this, the idea here is that even with the animated movies like that, they still kept the idea and they still really focused on the relationship that these two brothers had. And we basically saw this with how Mario himself basically did his best to go and save Luigi, right? How he basically did his best to go and save his brother, right? And even in the live action movie, they still, the idea that these two brothers like that, Mario still looked out for his younger brother, right? He still gave him great advice. He still basically was there as a support, right? And they basically were there to, they basically didn't want to do anything to abandon the other, right? And not only that, but even when Luigi first met Daisy and stuff like that, it was love at first sight. And technically speaking, with most cases, the Super Mario Brothers live-action movie would probably be the best and literally the first time to really give us a proper indication of Luigi and Daisy actually coming into the fold, right? Now, technically speaking, a lot of people would actually summarize and basically state that the first time in-game connections between Luigi and Daisy might have actually occurred in NES Tournament Golf, right? Because Peach and Daisy actually appear as Mario and Luigi's caddy, right? And if by chance Daisy is going to appear in the next movie, I think this would actually be very good. I think this would actually be a very good scene to actually occur, right? Maybe not an actual real scene, maybe maybe more like an in-game scene that's like that, or maybe like a special nod and like that. Like, imagine like if the post-credit scene comes up and literally there are like, let's say, mementos, right? Like memorial mementos, like pictures taken. And imagine if one of the pictures taken is literally the same, is basically the same concept here, where Mario and Luigi are playing golf, and Peach and Daisy there as well as their caddies, right? Maybe that could actually be a very good nod to something, right? Maybe that would be very interesting here. Okay, I would really love that. All right, but to continue on with the matter of it is, right? When the whole relationship, the whole meeting of Luigi and Daisy actually occurred in the live-action movie and like that, Luigi himself definitely really felt something, right? He really wanted like he definitely fell in love with Daisy, right? He really loved her and stuff like that. And even when Luigi basically had to let Daisy go because Daisy herself, she needed to actually basically be there for her father, right? She needed to be there for her kingdom in order to fix everything that King Koopa had completely messed up, right? And Luigi didn't want to say goodbye, right? He didn't want to say goodbye. He really wanted to be with her. But of course, at the end of the movie, they did eventually reunite. It's like that. But the context here is that the relationship that Luigi had with Daisy in the movies like that was really one of the best aspects of it, right? It really focused on the idea of, someone falling in love and someone who's basically like nervous, someone who's like nervous to tell a girl that he loves her and stuff like that, and how it really unfolded to even the point where, you have like the good mentor person who's actually there, okay? Now, one idea that how this could actually play out in this movie overall is that we might even be able to see the context here of Luigi himself feeling like a third wheel, okay? Now, a third wheel is basically when someone feels like they're left out with something, right? So imagine if Mario himself starts paying more attention to Peach, right? That's not to say that I'm implying that Mario himself is going to completely ignore Luigi to the point where he doesn't recognize him, but I think overall Luigi would feel kind of left out. Like he would feel kind of like, maybe not overall jealous, but maybe a slight envious is that, Mario himself is basically in this relationship. He basically has this princess character, and Luigi might feel like he doesn't have anyone for himself, right? So literally having this an overall story could give us a great development and help us unfold something to have Luigi set himself up for a great dynamic, okay? And truth be told, if by chance this actually occur and they have some elements in the next movie, I would rather have it where Luigi is the one to save Daisy rather than Mario, right? I probably wouldn't mind to have some things where Mario is being like a bit adventurous and a bit rescuing and like that, and maybe some minor things. But when it comes to the actual rescuing of Daisy herself or anything overall that needs to occur to actually get Daisy to basically recognize Luigi and really like see him as like her true knight in shining armor, I would love it if it was Luigi to have that moment, right? Luigi must have that moment, right? Now, whether or not you want to actually think that's actually going to occur, whether or not you actually want that to actually happen, that's all up to you, right? You don't actually have to necessarily enjoy that. You don't have to actually believe that, but that's just what I want to expect from the relationship with Luigi and Daisy in the next movie, right? And that maybe that's something to actually occur here, okay? Now, I did mention in my last video that one idea I did see that could actually occur here is that because Nintendo is introducing for the first time ever in an actual game itself a proper indication of Daisy's palace, we could summarize here is that maybe they're going to take elements from past games or basically games from Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Land, Super Mario World, and Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins, right? Maybe they're going to take aspects from these games and give us some proper indications into a story itself and utilize it for a unique way, right? So one thing to actually go here is that in Super Mario Land 2, Wario himself actually used the events of Mario in Sarasaland, right? Because of this, he took over Mario's castle, right? But in reality, that wouldn't make a lot of sense for the context of the actual story, especially in the movie itself. So imagine if instead they have Wario take over basically take over Daisy's palace instead, right? That might make the story a little bit more interesting and might have it a little bit more development, okay? And not to mention, because of this, this also could play in a good way to give us an idea of why Peach and Daisy need, why Peach and Mario and Luigi need to actually go there. So maybe there was like a bit of a request help, right? And they're literally going to go there in order to help save this area. It's like that has basically taken over in order to kick Wario out, okay? And then maybe they don't even realize it's that this person actually is ruled by a princess herself, right? Maybe Peach never even realized or knew that there was a princess in this world that was basically just like her, another human, okay? So, yes, in the context of it, I would say that Wario taking over Daisy's palace would make much more sense than Wario taking over Mario's castle. But to summarize in a bit more of a simple way, whatever Nintendo is actually going to do for this movie overall, I feel like any option that they choose is going to be perfect as long as they can lay it out and basically basically just incorporate the story in a perfect way for us to enjoy, all right? All right. So yes, overall, I did talk about the relationship of how I think it actually unfolded with Luigi and Daisy, and that with them personally, I would like Luigi himself to actually. I would want Nintendo to actually make sure to give us a good focus on this. I would actually like to have a very good moment where we can actually get a scene with Luigi and Daisy herself, maybe in a field of flowers, right? Maybe in the general aspect here, where in the first movie, where we had a field of fire flowers with Mario and Peach and stuff like that. Maybe we can actually get that, but with maybe like. I don't know, maybe like Super Ball flowers. I mean, the Super Ball flower was introduced to Mario Land, or maybe they could do ice flowers, or maybe, I don't know, the gold flower, whatever kind of flower they use, right? Whatever flower, yes, whether it be fire, ice, Super Ball, or even the gold flower, right? Or whatever option they choose, if there is an opportunity where they can actually have that and basically honor or give us something, one of the best scenes like in the anime movies like that, which was where we basically get the understanding of like Mario and Peach connecting together. If we can get that same moment for Luigi and Daisy in this movie, I feel like we're going to have a great setup where a lot of people, even those out there who don't really play the Mario games, who don't really know these characters, who are basically going to look at that and say, oh yeah, those two, they're a match made in heaven, right? Yeah, they are made for each other, right? Like literally, just to throw in the context here, I would definitely love to see this actually occur in the movie, right? Like, if there's an opportunity where this actually occurs, where Luigi basically just sees Daisy for the first time, and he's literally got this, like, open like open old mouth and he's just basically looking down the way as if he's just saw love at first sight, right? Like he's literally astonished and amazed by the beauty that he sees, right? Like, run to her, Luigi, run to her, man, go to her, Luigi, run to her, boy, run to her. Yeah. But overall, I'm sure you get the point, right? I do think there is a great opportunity for Luigi and Daisy to have a great involvement and have a great relationship to set up in the movie itself, right? And I would love for Luigi to be the one to be for how Daisy herself can basically see him as her knight in shining armor, right? I want that to actually be the case, and I really want something to basically give us something for that, okay? So that's just everything I have on Luigi and Daisy. There's probably other things we can go over as well, but I really don't want to get this video dragged out as much as possible. So now that we talked about the Luigi and Daisy aspect, we can go over into the Peach and Daisy aspect here, okay? So give me 1 minute, okay? All right, we are finally back, right? So thank you so much for joining me. Let's get into this, all right? So for this last part of the video, we're going to be discussing on the possibilities of how Peach and Daisy's relationship will actually occur in the next movie and what we can actually sort of summarize here, right? Okay? Yeah. So yes, when looking at the first movie itself, we do know for a fact that there was concept art for the movie itself that did give indication that Daisy herself was actually going to appear in the anime movie, right? Matter of fact, there was a few like leaked images and stuff like that from like certain like wallpapers, posters that did give indication that Daisy herself would appear, but those could also be just like simple nods or references to indicate like, hey, this person is part of this world. They are going to appear, but they might not appear in this movie, right? Now, in reality, the context here of Peach herself requesting Mario and the gang to actually go and save her friend might feel a little out of place because in technicality with the first movie, Peach herself, we basically see how she actually came into Mushroom Kingdom, right? We saw her come in through the warp pipe where she was basically greeted by the Toads, right? And we saw that her entire life she actually grew up there, right? And we know for a fact that when she met Mario for the first time, it was her first time ever actually meeting another human, all right? So truth be told, that wouldn't make any sense because if that's the idea and the logic that they want to go for in the movie itself and imply that Peach herself doesn't know where she comes from, doesn't even realize that she's never met another human in her entire life, that wouldn't make any sense for the relationship for Daisy and Peach to have together, okay? But we could look in the aspect here of like, Peach herself might feel a connection here, not realizing that this entire time there was someone else just like her who's also grew up here in this kingdom as well. But instead, they got separated, right? Now, one idea that this movie could actually play into and that they can actually utilize and work, I'm not saying that this is actually what they're 100% is going to do, right? And keep in mind, just because something will actually occur in the movie doesn't actually mean it will officially be canon within the game itself unless Nintendo officially wants that to be the case, right? So keep that in mind, okay? But in some of the guidebooks for certain games, particularly like in the Mario Kart games, I think it was stated in Mario Kart Double Dash and Mario Kart Wii, right? There might be a few others, but let's just focus on those two, right? But it was basically stated in these descriptions of the characters' bio pages that Peach and Daisy were actually cousins, right? Maybe that could be a good setup here for the movie itself, right? So imagine if we get basically a scene here where we basically sort of get a flashback where we find out that, Peach and Daisy, when they were babies, they knew each other and they were playing together, right? But they end up traveling through a warp pipe and end up getting sucked in and end up going into different directions here, right? And then maybe because of the young age here, they completely forgot or completely didn't realize that where they came from, right? They basically eventually grew up, time passed like that, and they eventually just forgot about the earliest memories that they had, all right? Maybe that's something to actually indicate here and something to give us a proper understanding, okay? And then for the idea here is that because Peach herself grew up in this world with no one around to really understand her and stuff like that, and being and don't get me wrong, right? I'm not trying to imply that Peach herself doesn't love her citizens, right? I'm not trying to imply here that Peach herself completely hates the Toads, right? No, I'm just trying to imply here is that because Peach never really had anyone else just like her and really felt alone, the idea here is that Nintendo and Universal could actually set something up to where Peach herself would probably not feel alone anymore, and the same could be even said for Daisy herself, right? Maybe they can feel like an interconnected like some kind of interconnected bonding, right? Like maybe in a way you can sort of imply or sort of give us that they are really sister in arms, right? Now, sister in arms doesn't necessarily mean that the two are generally in actual sisters, but it just means that their bond is so strong that you can even refer to them as actual sisters, right? And I think that's actually something that can actually occur here. Now, for the movie itself, Peach was given sort of a revamp and sort of given more a little bit more of a tomboy-esque personality to sort of give us some more approach to it, which does make sense because in the anime movie, the idea here was to give us a proper indication to explain why Mario would need to travel to this world to begin with by saving his brother, right? So that does lead to a very good aspect here of how this could actually unfold to where why Mario in the game would actually need to travel to Sarasaland to save Daisy in the first place if they never even met her or don't even know she even exists, alright? So finding a good way to incorporate her into the story to have a good element is a very good question itself. That's why I did summarize and basically state at the beginning of the movie that one idea I think that they could actually do for this in the context here is have Mario and Luigi's niece Marilyn find the Yoshi egg, but then somehow end up going through a warp pipe as well somehow, and then she winds up in like Sarasaland in this like maybe this desert region area, and that Mario, Luigi, and Peach and Toad are on a rescue mission to go and save her, but they eventually basically wind up in Sarasaland, and they basically learn the events that happen where Peach herself eventually meets Daisy herself, right? Alright. So yes, because Peach herself not really having anyone like her to really like get into it and like that, we can imagine the idea here that the bond that these two would probably have when they first meet each other could be a good way to give us a good development, right? Like we saw how Peach really felt like a good connection, was started having like a good bonding relationship with Mario as the movie unfolded. That we can also might get that same thing, but with Peach and Daisy as well, right? And I think that's something that could be really unique and something that could really focus on the general idea of what we want to present for these two princesses who never met for the first time, right? Like, could it be possible that like they feel like an interconnection? Like, could it feel like, or could it even feel like Nintendo might take it in the opposite route? Like, could it be possible that they don't feel like a connection to her, right? And they need to strengthen that bond by realizing is that they have more in common than they realize, even though the other one might not even share that, right? Maybe they're going to start out as enemies, but they eventually become great friends, right? Maybe that's something that could actually occur as well, right? Whatever the option is, whatever Nintendo is actually going to do, I'm sure all options are going to be great and are going to be perfect, but we will need to wait to know for sure, right? And it's really hard to know, all right? Like, to be honest here, when the movie came out, it's like that, sure, it's not literally like an Oscar winning, it's like that greatest movie of all time in terms of personal opinions for anyone out there, but I like the movie, right? I like the movie itself. I think it's great, and I actually loved how it actually unfolded and how it actually developed a relationship between the characters themselves, particularly between the main core characters, to really give us a good element to them, right? So if we can actually get that for this movie itself and give us a good relationship development between Daisy and Peach, but at the same time, the same thing with Daisy and Luigi, I think we got a great story here that is giving us a proper and giving us a good motive, right? Now, there are some things to really go over as well, like who could be the main bad guy, right? You could always have Bowser return as well and have him come in as the main focus here, okay? You might also be able to bring in King Boo. However, I really wouldn't want King Boo to take over the palace aspect here. I mean, I probably wouldn't mind if it actually occurs in the game, but truth be told, if they're going to do a Luigi's Mansion movie, I would like to focus it on just the mansion aspect firsthand before going to the whole idea of using Elias the palace, right? If they do want to have King Boo to take over a palace, Daisy Palace, I prefer if Nintendo actually made that into an official game first rather than doing this into a movie, right? There is also a possibility, because I stated that Wario himself could take over Daisy's palace, they might even have the idea here of utilizing Waluigi to be the one to fall in love with Daisy herself, right? And one idea I basically summarize here is that in the core logic of the games that Nintendo could take inspiration from, with the Super Mario Bros. 2 and Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Bros. 2 and Super Mario, let's see, what is it, Super Mario Land? Yeah, Super Mario Bros. 2 and Super Mario Land, the enemies that basically appear in that game really only they appeared in other things as well, but they're not really recognizable, right? Like Wart himself, like you'd really have to really know the Mario universe and Mario games overall to really know who Wart is. He was the main bad guy in Super Mario Bros. 2, and truth be told, he isn't really recognizable in terms of audience depictions for those who actually see the movies themselves, right? So really, Wart wouldn't really be that recognizable, right? I mean, I'm not saying that Wart cannot actually appear, but truth be told, he really wouldn't give off the vibe of being a great final villain for the movie. Sorry about that loud noise, right? I do apologize for that. And the same thing can be said for Tatanga, right? Tatanga was the alien space creature that took over Daisy's kingdoms like that and eventually captured her in order to get her to marry him, right? So, and not to mention here, in Super Mario Land 2, because Wario used the events of Tatanga's alien invasion of Sarasaland to take over Mario's castle, if we are going over the aspect here of Wario taking over Daisy's palace, it might be possible that Tatanga could actually just serve as, a bit of a ploy for Wario and Waluigi to utilize him to take over the kingdom, like that, to hypnotize the kingdom. That way, Waluigi himself could basically capture Daisy and get her to actually fall in love with him and marry him, right? And maybe it can involve in sort of a rescue mission where Mario and Luigi need to go on a rescue mission to save Princess Daisy, but with Luigi being the hero that Daisy needs, all right? All right. So that's really the main core aspects of anything I really wanted to discuss with this this idea, right? I mean, there's more that we can probably go over. There's probably much more we can discuss, but those are really the things I really wanted to go, right? That's just what I wanted to basically summarize, what I really wanted to predict, what I wanted to just state. That's basically it, right? Whether or not you actually want to like that, whether or not you actually want to believe that's actually going to be the case, whether or not you actually want it to actually happen, I'll leave that up to you, right? You all have the rights to choose your own decisions on how you want to believe the movie could actually unfold, or how the idea of these characters could actually develop within a relationship or give an understanding of their characters for the next movie, right? So yeah, so that will do it. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Clif. I'm glad you had the opportunity to see my video. If you enjoyed my video or enjoyed my content, please let me know by smashing that like button, right? Subscribe to the channel, hit notification bells, and feel free to leave a comment down below to let me know what you thought about the video, right? Thank you so much. You all have a great day. Goodbye, everybody.